Some video feedback on assessment quiz 3 period. It seems like most people have looked through this and have taken advantage of the whole, take your highest score kind of thing, seeing the answers. The question is, are you making sure that you understand why it's the right answer and so on, and why the wrong answers are the wrong answers? Because on the final, things will be a little bit different. Will be a section like this, only the descriptions will be a little bit different. So make sure that you understand why things are the way they are. For example, here, for each of the following descriptions, select those that represent analyzing student learning and leave those that do not blank. I don't think anybody really picked this one. Don't think anyone really picked this one either, or this one. The key idea here is that just entering grades or putting marks into a book doesn't really cut it. You have to make sure that you're actually looking at the different patterns along the different objectives to make some decisions and actually use the data. So that, if I'm thinking of what the key idea is what you should be focused on. So for the second one, for each of the following descriptions, select those that represent finding patterns of learning and leave those that do not blank. So there are two different patterns that we're looking at, or that we can look at, right? One are the quantitative patterns, one are the qualitative patterns. You're going to learn more about that for this week. Quantitative patterns are just how many students met each objective and to what degree. And then qualitative patterns are why did they fail, or how are they succeeding or exceeding expectations, and so on. In this case, if students fail their test and then you reteach the entire lesson, that doesn't work, because you're not looking at a pattern, you're just looking at a all or nothing thing. It's not tied to objectives. There's no description of why they failed it, and then you're just doing what you did over. In contrast, right, in learning how to write a persuasive essay, that some students have trouble with the general format, while others are having problems only with drawing the conclusion. So now I can make a plan to differentiate my instruction, and these are the reasons why people are failing. Not just that they failed, but why are they failing? Going on here, the teacher tells his class that he will be assigning extra homework covering all the goals because only 55% of the students met all three objectives. You could argue that that kind of does it. But it doesn't fit with why he is assigning extra homework covering all the goals. Because some students, over half the students, met all three goals. So why are you giving the whole class homework again, right? It's not really a pattern per se, because it's not broken down by objectives. If it were, then it would work. A teacher describes or decides that all the students should recite their numbers from 1 to 100 when then working on their math worksheets. We've seen this in the video. Because they need something to do if they get done early. That has nothing to do with finding patterns. It's just an extra busy work task. Proper feedback, again, what you are looking at here are: 1, are things tied to objectives? 2, are you focused on positives and negatives? 3, do you provide a path forward? And 4, do you really provide an opportunity to use that feedback? And the good options have all those. The others are missing some or all of them. When we think about this next one, ways you can empower, right? The key thing here is that you provide an opportunity or incentive or a requirement for your students to actually use something. So just saying they're disappointed, giving them feedback on their paper, the feedback could be great, but if there's no reason why the students should look at it or use it, or they're not going to get anything from reading it, then it's not really empowering them to use the feedback. So make sure that when you're talking about this particular skill, that you are somehow creating an opportunity or a requirement for the students to actually use the feedback that you give. Looking at ways you can show evidence of using academic language, I think the only one that people really picked that shouldn't have been picked was this one, describing how your students could have used the language function correctly if you would have taught it differently. Well, that's not showing that they actually did it. That's saying that they didn't, but next time they might, or next time they will, and that's not showing evidence of language use. And finally, can't get down to the bottom here. I guess I'll just talk about the general idea. Which of the following are good examples of using assessment data? Let me try to make it a little wider so we can see a little more. To analyze your own teaching, right? The key here is what you're trying to do is make sure that you are basing it off of data, not just feelings, not just casual observations, but objective by objective. What did you see the students do? How well did they perform? What was it like? And how can you change it to make it better next time? Those are the key essentials that you should be thinking about next time you come across a task like this. So that is it for the different skills. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, we will see something slightly different than this on the final, but the ideas will be exactly the same. Same deep structure, different surface structure. Okay, have a great day.